Hey guys, Esports John here. Today we're going to be casting another game of Larvas from his stream on June 13th. This is once again against Flash. This is a continuation of the previous video. And this is essentially, I believe Larva is actually 2-0 up in the series. So he's doing quite well against Flash so far. Last game we saw him do a big macro game where he managed to find weaknesses in Flash's kind of bizarre marine tank style, and eventually exploit those weaknesses to completely break his far bases. So really cool to see from Larva. We'll see if he goes for something similar in this game. We are gonna have to swap to a new video in the middle of the stream because I think this one's just about to end. But essentially this game is going to be going to the late game as well. It's a very long, exciting game, so looking forward to casting all this one as well. There it is. Alright, and we go into the next one. Turn this down just a bit. Okay, so we're moving into this. We see Flash is going for an early bunker rush, which Larva is going to defend. Sorry, we skipped so far ahead. That's just the way the videos are from Core Hold Up Heal. Does pick off one of the Marines. One of these drones is super low. A little bit uncharacteristic of Flash to not focus that down earlier. But he does eventually get it, so that's pretty nice. And it looks like this bunker rush is held pretty nicely. I can't tell if this was an 8-8, a BBS, or if this was more of a standard timing, just at his natural, but Larva doing an incredible job of picking off all those Marines. And this is so annoying. Those SCVs are going to follow that around forever. Very smart play to pull this drone around and be very careful of the reinforcing Marine that might come in and try to snipe it. Good stuff so far. He is going to be going for that early gas. Very smart way to play against any sort of bunker rush. You just get the early gas up so that you can get the early speed and deal with things if the bunker does get up. Luckily the bunker was not finished. The bunker's going to be canceled there, we see that. So Larva's probably going to be going into a 2-base Mutilus build, most likely. We do see actually the third hatch coming down, so good stuff. He's going to be going for the 3 hatches. He may only get his Zerling speed and then pull a couple of drones off gas. We'll have to see how he approaches that. Looks like he did go for the lair first, so he's going to be going for the fast mutas. No huge surprise there, honestly. Only 4 lings out on the map, so he's not going to be able to exert a lot of pressure, but he is going to at least force Flash to be honest and not go a little bit too crazy. Wow, he finds the scouting SCV. Really impressive. Some Shine-esque moves there. Wow, a lot more lings coming out. This is a very aggressive play. I don't think he even has ling speed started. We'll find out in just a second. Because he's got 100 gas. Did I miss the ling speed again? Pretty sure I didn't. I'm pretty sure he went for the lair first. Unless I'm crazy. Very good spread from those lings. Good micro from Flash as well, but so many lings back at home. He's easily going to be able to clean that up. Very nice play from Larva so far. Okay, I'm crazy. Apparently he did go ling speed first. Oh my gosh. Doesn't matter how much I watch the gas numbers, it just doesn't help. No, I just don't think he started ling speed. I think he's still just got mass slow lings. Well, hopefully he figures it out at some point. Or I'm crazy. Okay, there it is. Huh. Anyhow. So it's a standard build, and I'm horrible at life. So he's just going to run past this bunker, just try to get into the main base, do some scouting, maybe pick off a couple SCVs. Very nice to pick off this building SCV. Oh, he didn't actually pick it off. That's a bit unfortunate. But he's looking for another SCV to pick off. Maybe he'll be able to pick off 1 or 2. Typically, when you can kill off the building SCVs, that's the money right there. That's what you really want. He's gonna circle back around and try to pick this one off. So very nicely played. Oh, but actually, Flash is just a god and replaced it with a new SCV. That's just insane. The genius of Flash to know, like, oh, I need to replace that SCV so he can't come back and snipe it is just insane. Just craziness, man. But he does force out a stem. That's a little, it's a very, very tiny win, but it is a win. And we'll see that he's going up into this Mutalisk right now. The first Mutalists are building. Looks like he was actually planning on going for a really fast Hydra Den to follow up, but maybe not. Just a little bit questionable the way he was placing that last round. So he's got his first 11 mutas out. We'll probably see a Hydra Den coming out very shortly. There it is. He has no Lings out right now, and only one sunken though. Luckily, Flash has invested into the missile turrets and lost a lot of those Marines early on. So there's not a lot of pressure on Larva's front. He can take this third base relatively easily without much of a problem. And honestly, he can actually just drone from here. He doesn't have to make a bunch of Lings quite yet. He can actually make a round of drones first. Especially when he's got this pressure on the front with Mutalisk. Nice little pick off. Always good stuff. See, he's actually holding a couple of Larva. That's a bit interesting to me. Looks like he's just going to be working on keeping the Terran player pinned back in his base. Been able to really do a whole lot at this particular point in time. And if this is the +1 5 racks from Flash, we would expect to see a heavy emphasis on getting tons of Marines. So any Marine that Larva can pick off is good. Ooh, this is 2 Mutalists there for free and one pretty badly injured. But he is actually going to be sending all these drones straight over to the third. So really cool stuff to see from Larva. Knowing that he has the advantage, he has the map control, he can play a little bit greedier right now. But now it's time to make the Lings. He's really going to have to make sure that he has the units necessary to deal with this pressure that's coming soon. He sticks to just these drones and lurkers for too long, he can definitely find himself in a pretty compromising position. So just positioning his overlords, trying to get an idea of where the Terran army is, and it's possible. Okay, good. The Terran army is just on that high ground ridge. I was about to say it's possible that the Terran maybe even wrapped around all the way to the left side, going by the low ground, but taking a more direct, safe route. It's always a little bit dangerous to move your army too far out of the way as Terran, because then you have the danger of being surrounded by Beetle Ling and just getting your force completely wrecked far away from home. So very nice that he actually he has this wall if he's going to get the first lurker there. It's quite difficult to deal with this without any Lings at all. So I'm surprised that he's sticking to these drones. He really, it's shown in this game and last game that he's very comfortable in his Mutalisk control, and he feels comfortable that he can deal with Mutalisk even when the bio ball gets pretty large. He can still deal with it with just the Mutalisk. So very confident play from Larva so far. Just getting an idea of where the Terran army is. He's already got the high lap. He's already got the Defiler Mound down, so he's gonna be working out. Oh, yeah, that's rough. Luckily, there's only 2 mutas lost and 1 kind of injured, so not horrible for him, but definitely not what you want at this point in the game, especially when you're relying on those Mutalists for your defense. And it looks like Flash might actually even go for a big bust. Wow, that is an interesting vulture. Is Flash just going straight into the mech transition really early this game, or is he was that just like a scouting vulture? That's pretty interesting to see that vulture that early in the game. This is third base coming out. Looks like it may have just been a scout. maybe you make like 2 or 3 of those and then just go ravage Zerg base by running past the lurkers. He's gonna do some pretty heavy damage to this command center, and that's just gonna be really annoying to deal with. Looks like he Flash is actually going into that SK Terran build. Very quick responses from Larva to pull off that irradiated Mutalisk. It looks like Flash is gonna be going for the SK build. I think that was just the scouting vulture, maybe even a misclick, who knows. This is a little questionable without, yeah, he had, that's awkward. He had the Defiler there and just like, didn't use it, so. A little bit questionable moves, Larva, but he's gonna, sorry, excuse me. Gonna be able to push that back for now. Getting some free damage on those science vessels, but this is where the pressure starts to really mount up if Larva doesn't have another one of those super money plagues, or if he doesn't pick off the science vessels as they're coming in. He's gonna find himself against a very heavy push with a lot of Marines, a lot of medics, a lot of science vessels pushing into his 4th base pretty soon. We'll have to see how he deals with it. You see he is going hunting for the... There's another vulture. A vulture. It seems like Flash is like experimenting with a lot of different styles in this particular game. It's so unusual to see a vulture coming out of this SK Terran style. To see 2 of them in a row is super weird to me. He really needs to put down that swarm on top of okay. He's gonna say he really put that swarm on top of his lurkers, or else he's gonna fall into some trouble. Adding on a couple more. So here's the early mine transition. It's just, it's so weird. That first vulture out was out so freaking early, so very confusing for Flash, but it looks like he's going to be going into that standard mech transition with the vultures this time instead of the tanks first. So cool stuff from him. And we see that right now, to continually denying these SCVs coming up to build command centers. Really smart play from Larva to keep an eye on that top left-hand base and just be aware of what's going on. He's going to lose a couple of units here and there. He picks off one of the science vessels and a couple of Marines, so small win for him. Eventually this will get cleaned up. The vultures aren't great against lurkers, but they're actually not that bad, so not too bad. Yeah, lurkers are only really good against bad. Ugh. I was so sleepy, sorry. So a little bit questionable play there, and there's nothing to defend that 4th base, so a little bit worried if something comes after him later on in the game. It's might be a little bit dangerous to leave that 4th base unattended, and here come the first forays, the first attacks. Good block from there. Small play, not really a big deal, but not allowing those vultures up into the 3rd base is a pretty big deal, because if they get in there, then they break everything. Things coming in, things going out. Basically the way that goes. This game feels a little bit more disorganized by Larva compared to the previous game. It doesn't seem to quite have everything in the right places like he did before. And you see he has a lot of like AFK units in random places, so not as good this game. His control isn't quite top notch. But he's starting to get aggressive now that he has these forward bases, and he can start stockpiling that gas. He can get a lot more aggressive with this. It's interesting that it goes for that expansion instead of investing into the ultras at this point in the game. I feel like his ultras are quite late. He could already have ultras out on the map by now. But instead he's deciding to save up a lot of his gas and just focus on having lots of lings, and going for these defiler ling movements up either side of the map. But I honestly don't think it's that good, because vultures are like the hardest counter ever to lings in every single way. I feel like it would make a lot more sense for him at this point to make a couple of mutalisks and just kind of fly around the map with a speed overlord and just clean up the mines that way. This is the way that a lot of new Zerg players are playing it. I think it's the better way to play it, honestly. There's lots of those vultures on the map doing a lot of harassment. We're up to 2,000 gas for Larva, so he really is saving it for some sort of big ultralist play. Like maybe he's just planning to slam out, you know, 10, 12 ultralists at once. It really is a little bit bizarre that he's deciding to stockpile so much gas and only build lings. Very strange maneuvers here. I like this double Nidus play. This is something I think, I feel like only Larva really does, is this double Nidus play where you can reinforce both his third base and his fourth base immediately. That way he's not reliant on just the one Nidus canal in order to reinforce, and the travel time is a lot less if they're attacking your fourth and you need to reinforce. As you can see though, it's been a long time since Larva's been out on the map, since he's had any sort of control. Making up to 3,000 gas now. It's insane. Craziness. Suiciding more lings onto these mines to try to clear it out. I'm not convinced this is a good idea. I don't like this playstyle. I think it's bad. So, but Zerg players still continue to do it, so I guess, I don't know, maybe it is good and I just don't understand. Like if you're lucky it'll like drag onto tanks and stuff, or like your lings will accidentally kill it before it actually goes off, stuff like that, but that's rare, man. I don't know. I don't believe in it very much. Still banking the gas. Still banking tons and tons of gas. This is so highly unusual. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this from a Zerg player. Looks like he really is banking heavily on pun not intended, but pun intended. He's banking really heavily on that late game tech switch. Oh, looks like a ton of gas just got spent. I think he just made his first couple ultralists. And so now that he has the drops, I think he's going to be planning on getting very aggressive with the drop play into the fourth base and maybe into the Terran Natural. Now that he has these groups, very nice play to just do small ling drops and get on top of these tanks. Get the splash damage in. Not a ton of damage though. Maybe it softens up. Oh, he made a bunch of queens. Those aren't ultras, those are a bunch of queens. Wow. So he's got like about a dozen queens, maybe even a little more. And he's gonna have to just sit here and bank up energy. It looks like he's gonna be going for a huge bust. This is kind of what we saw from Jaedong in the ACL when he played against Flash. He basically just made a ton of queens and waited until the perfect moment where he could attack. And I think that's what we're gonna see from Larva. Wow, he actually, yeah, he has two subgroups of queens. So very, very, very many of them. And Flash is adding on a couple of Goliaths right now to deal with any sort of airplay, but it's going to be so hard to kill this many queens before they get in there and snipe the tanks. Follow up with that, he's probably just going to be making a ton of lings and a ton of ultras. You follow up. Looks like he's spending most of his gas on more queens apparently, and lots of Scourge. Right now he can hold forever with these lurkers plus with these lures plus the defilers, but after that it's going to become a lot harder to actually make stuff happen. He's really focusing on killing off these killing off the science vessels and thinning out the count. It's probably going to make it much easier for him to push in with ultras once all the tanks are gone as well. So good stuff from Larva so far. Just making sure that he's priority targeting the right units at the right times. Kind of expecting a counter push to come in on the right side, but nothing's coming in so far, so looks like he's safe in that regard. Oh my gosh, should he get Queen Energy upgrade? It's insane, dude. It's insanity. I don't think I've ever seen like Queen Energy upgrades. But Flash is slowly breaking his way into the space, and it's very difficult to actually make headway with this once you start to lose ground as the Zerg player. Luckily, he is going for this big break with the Queens, so it's very possible that Flash overstays his welcome here and then just gets broken instantly with the Spawn Broodlings. Spawn Broodlings only just now being researched though, so quite late. He's gonna have to hold on for at least another 2 minutes or so before he can actually really push out. I'm not sure how long the Spawn Broodlings upgrade actually is, but I feel like it's fairly long. He still has to make a lot of ultras and lings in order to actually push out. He's not going to be able to push out with just what he has right now. I admire his tenacity and just continually making units and flooding them through here. He is slowly wearing down the tank line, but it's very cost inefficient. Luckily, those two tanks are standing on top of the lurker, so good stuff from him. Looks like the Broodlings are complete. Here comes the big break. He's going to be going in really hard here. He didn't actually go very hard. He broke a couple tanks and then like stopped. Well, this was not very well executed, honestly. But he still has a ton of queens ready to push forward. Lost all the drones at that base, which is a little unfortunate. But he managed to break out of this base. He's going to be able to push across the map now. And I don't know what Flash's army is sitting at, but I'm sure that weakened Flash's army quite a bit. And since Terran units take so long to build and move across the map, this could be an issue, especially since Larva has so many full energy queens that are ready to snipe more tanks in defense. So it really depends on how good the spider mines are to decide whether or not Flash can actually hold this. We're finding ourselves in a pretty crazy and wacky game so far. Tons of units just flooding across the map for Larva. He's continuing to send them across the map. And it looks like the queens are going to be going in here and start sniping off the tanks. But again, the execution's a little bit questionable. I think he could have done that a little bit better. There's no reason why that force can't be completely cleaned up by these queens. So a little bit confusing to me why he's there we go. Now we see the proper plays. Good stuff. Okay. So lots of tanks being sniped, and this is what I was talking about earlier. Once you don't have units to defend, is this a wow, that spider mine hit was insane. And this is what I was talking about earlier. When you don't have the reinforcements, these queens just break everything because you're relying so heavily as the Terran player on defensive tanks. And when you just have a bunch of queens that can snipe that instantly, it becomes so much harder to reinforce. Flash is slowly starting to break through anyway. It's actually pretty amazing. Okay, interesting placement on that hatch, but I guess that's whatever. He does get a couple of these ultralists in, but they are radiated. They will eventually die. And he's just working on getting that extra energy so he can push out again with another big push. I think a little bit sloppy play from Larva there. He honestly could have broken that base and already won the game by now, but just fairly poor play on those queens, and just kind of sloppily running his units in one at a time. a pretty adverse effect on his ability to actually do stuff. And lots of these vultures getting into the 6 o'clock base. Honestly, every single one of those drones could die. Let's see, he is going to be killing off all of these tanks with the broodlings again. Insane stuff. So this base, once again, is under fire. It's going to be difficult for Flash to really reinforce that. A lot of drones went down at the 6 o'clock base, though. So we're probably going to see Larva try to replace a couple of those. And this is the one way that you can actually make Zerg work against mech in the late game, honestly, is you always have this problem of late game mech is so cost efficient, but queens are actually the only thing that can match that efficiency. Because if you do it right and save all of your queens, they actually can continue to kill units for free forever. So they're actually much better than tanks, honestly. So at this point, it's just a war of attrition. You see that Larva is trying to get both the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock position bases. If he can secure both of those and keep his queens alive, he can continue to whittle away this army and slowly start to pull ahead in the economy. Eventually, Flash will run out of that money while Larva is still sitting pretty. So I love this like hidden hatch behind Flash's mineral expansion up in the top. It's a little bit cute. I don't think it'll ever do anything, but it's cute. It's very nice. And just sending small groups of lings all over the place. They can be cleaned up pretty easily, but it is splitting Flash's attention quite a bit. Meanwhile, he's going to be taking that 3 o'clock base while pushing it over here. It's actually really beautiful. He made ultras out of those eggs. So even though the hatchery did go down, he's able to snipe a couple of units with those ultras. And more queens. It's insane. He's just waiting for the next cycle of broodlings that he can actually use. Once he gets that, he's probably going to be going in for another huge sniping mission. And you see that Flash is slowly falling apart. Flash doesn't have a lot of units, and it's becoming harder and harder for him to stop these lings from just running across the map and trading for free. Like, dude, he just infested that command center. Oh my god. I love it. I love it. This is life. This looks like game, honestly. Flash's natural is broken. He can't reinforce properly on either side of the map, and more units are just continuing to pour across the map. Tons of queens still alive. They're going to easily be able to pick off these tanks. Gotta keep those queens alive. It's a very important part of this strategy. Lots of tanks on that high ground, but they're completely undefended. It's so easy for Larva to actually honestly just go straight in and start sniping them with these queens. As long as he keeps the queens alive, that's the big thing. Lost one there, which is a little unfortunate. There's an infested command center. I love it, dude. You don't even understand how much that makes my day. Oh, lots of science vessels coming in. They might try to eraser trick. It looks like they're hunting down queens, but Larva doing a really good job of moving all of his queens out of the way. Nothing to be found there. If you had the ensnare upgrade, it would be amazing. Just kidding. Please don't go ensnare. So even though Larva isn't actually mining from the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock positions right now, he's done a good job of denying it to the Terran player for now. And so what that means is over time it's going to be much more difficult for Flash to sustain his army. He's slowly running out of minerals in his main natural and third, and I believe his fourth is completely out already, so we're probably going to see that high ground area also clear up pretty soon. Meanwhile, Larva has been trading very cost efficiently for the past 10 minutes, so even if he is getting rather low on the numbers of his units and rather low on overall economy, he's still doing a lot better than Flash in that regard. And these queens are just insane, doing a really good job. He's starting to split them into 2 groups and just kind of tag teaming. So like one group will go in, snipe a couple, and the next group will go in, snipe a couple. That way he can cycle the energy on them a lot better. And now that Flash's attention is incredibly divided, it's become much easier for Larva to start sniping these science vessels for free. Pretty brutal, and that's a, oh my god, that's such a huge force of Ling Ultra. He's gonna easily be able to overrun this unless he walks into a ton of mines. Yeah. That was interesting. But he is finally going to break this. When you have enough Ling Ultra, you can break anything. True, you can break anything with enough Ling Ultra. Quote me on that. He's slowly breaking this down. That last Ultra should be able to break through. And this is getting really bad for the Terran player. Once again, Flash, if he can't sustain on these bases, he's gonna find himself in a lot of problems, unable to like actually do anything. This base seems to be the crux of the entire game right now. Both players sending everything they've got towards it. I think this is a good opportunity for Larva, honestly, to group all of his queens and just break the 4th. Be super easy for him to do at this point in time. It looks like that's what he's doing. He's grouping everything, just spilling into that 4th base. If there's anything on the high ground, it really needs to be taken care of. Only 1 tank, wow. Flash really did commit everything to stopping that 3 o'clock base from going down, and now he's going to pay for it. This high ground area is finally being broken. A lot of SCVs are going to go down. Both the command centers are going to have to be lifted. And in the meanwhile, we have a couple of Dark Swarms that are going to be able to slow down this rotation and keep Flash from effectively dealing with this. So this is amazing play from Larva to actually push his opponent back and get the decisive economic advantage. I would love for him to start looking to pushing over into that into the Terran natural at this point. It looks like he's just going to continue to pick off units and just flood into this space on the high ground on the left, on the top left. It's very strong what he has right now, and he's just going to continue going crazy into it, see if he can pick off as many hits as possible. He's not worried about production, honestly, because he's got plenty of economy still behind him. He doesn't have to worry about falling behind in economy, so for Larva right now, it's just all about making trades. If he can make even slightly cost-efficient trades against the mech army, he's going to be able to easily close out this game over time. So many Spider-Mans, it's actually insane. It doesn't matter, because these units are the hardest counters to Lings in the game. I would love to see some Burrow and some Burrow play shenaniganry, just to be annoying. But it might be a little bit too late in the game for that. He's gonna lose 2 more of these queens for free, which is a little unfortunate. But Larva is still pushing it. I'm actually a little bit surprised because the queen count is slowly thinning out, and he's running out of money. So Larva might actually be in trouble if this game goes for too much longer. I was saying that he could keep trading, but those last couple trades were not very cost efficient for him. He really needed to be dropping long ago instead of just running his units straight into mines. After a while, running a whole bunch of Lings into vultures and mines is just not going to work for you. And Flash is doing a very excellent job of recognizing where his advantages lie and figuring out how to deal with it. The gas steal there is beautiful. So you can tell Larva's starting to get frustrated. He's starting to feel the press on him as he's not quite actually winning. And yeah, you can even see his mass accuracy is screwing up a little bit. And he's going to try to break down into this natural as well as maybe drop straight on top of these tanks. This is a very nice play from him so far. Good stuff. It looks like he's actually going to be going up to the top left-hand corner to drop some more stuff. This is what I was talking about earlier. This is why it's important to... Oh, good clouds there. Really good stuff. So he's going to be able to stall that out and make that very annoying to deal with. These are the drop plays that I was looking for a while back. I'm surprised it's only now coming out. And this is really the difficulty when you don't have a lot of overlords in late game. You spend a lot of gas on these queens and you don't keep them alive. You run into the situation where you're just trying to trade with mech with only lings, and it really comes down to just like being amazing with drops. It's very difficult to actually make that happen. He is slowly breaking this area over by the 3 o'clock base down. He's going to be able to force a lift off and maybe even break the production line again. Flash doing amazingly at holding on here, but eventually if he's not able to stabilize, it is going to become very difficult for him to continue to produce. It's amazing how cost efficient these vultures have been so far. And oh wow, okay, and there's the GG. Finally he broke through Flash's defenses up in that natural. You can tell he can't believe it either, man. He's so exhausted. That was an insane game. Lots of crazy stuff there. So, well played from Larva. You can see why Larva is the master of this matchup right now. He's so excited. I believe that was a 3-0 against Flash, so good stuff from Larva. He was having an exceptionally good week last week, and overall he's just been really good in ZVT in online matches. So that's going to be all for this cast. Thanks everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this cast, please like and subscribe down below. You can also follow me on Twitter at esportsjohn. I'll see you guys on the next one. Later.